Hello, it is Angry Birds Freeze King, and I have a Westinghouse OV25 from the late 1950s here. Pretty cool, but that's not what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about this streetlight right here. This is my General Electric M400 400 watt mercury vapor streetlight. Now, real quick before I start talking about this light, I know I might sound kind of cruddy right now. I have a small cold, and I had just got my wisdom teeth pulled about almost a week ago now. Or actually, it's been a week now since I've gotten them pulled. So my body is going through a lot of different phases right now. So is my mouth now that I've had that done. So I'm a bit stuffy right now, and you can probably tell I'm congested. But bear with me. I'm going to show you a really cool light. So a little history on this light. This is one of General Electric's very first M400s of the M400 model line. This is one of the second generations of the first version. And one way you can tell is because mine right here has this little lip on the button. And I will talk about this again soon. But one way to identify, because these came out in the late 1950s, and then they continued into the early 60s, but one way to tell which decade it's from is whether it has a lip on it or not. And the ones from the late 50s don't have that on the button. So mine is obviously from the early 60s, but either way, either decade, I still really think this light's amazing. Out of all the other brands that started making the modern style lights, General Electric definitely has done a good job at bringing this into a new era of street lighting. This light is very slim, it's very beautiful, there's lots of detail on it, and I think it's a great start to what we currently have ended up to today. We're obviously converting over to LEDs, and that's the new start of a luminaire line, but our luminaires comparing this luminaires to this luminaire to today's luminaires, this luminaire definitely is what striked a cool, amazing change in lighting. The luminaires from this time were amazing, and this one right here definitely shows how awesome it was for its time. Now, a little story on this light. This light went out, not really, so this light does work, but apparently this light went out, and this was on a street here in town. This light went out, and it was, I don't know if it just was having problems making a good connection with the light bulb, but this light wasn't working, and they came to replace it, and I came out when they were changing it, and I asked for it, and they said yes. So the people who usually take these down are pretty nice, and they don't really care if you ask, as long as you're not being nosy or anything, of course. So I got this luminaire. I diagnosed it, and I just kind of figured it probably had a loose connection. I cleaned everything, and this light works perfectly. So anyway, one thing I'll just talk about real quick before we actually look at this luminaire, the insides and all the parts of the luminaire, is the repaint. So in my last video I mentioned that I like to repaint my lights, and one reason why I do that is because I think it really brings out the good looks of this light. It makes it look new, like it wasn't used, and it helps bring out good details. Especially, the details like these lines right here that kind of pop out, in all the, outlinings of the light. So for all of you who like to keep your lights original, I certainly do keep my lights original, but I will repaint them. Now, this light, prior to the repaint, actually had a lighter coat of paint on it. So there's a couple different versions of these that had different colors. There's like a darker gray version of this, and obviously the normal ones you see that look really dark gray is actually the actual aluminum you're seeing. But there's a darker gray version of this, and there was also a lighter version gray of this, and the one I got so happens to be the lighter version, so I chose a paint that was very close to that lighter gray. So I cleaned up this light, sanded down the outside and got rid of any imperfections and gave it a good clean. But don't worry, this light's original. It's still 400 watts mercury vapor. It has its original ballast in it, and yes. So now that I've talked about that, let's go ahead and look at the light. So right off the bat, I have to say again, this luminaire is such a beautiful luminaire. I love the shape of this light. I know it's big and long, but I really don't care. It is a beautiful luminaire, and I love the shape. So, first of all, we'll go over some of the detailing. We got details that make it look aesthetically beautiful around the lip right here. You got nice base detailing around here. It's one thing I'm going to talk about quite a lot in this video is probably the detail. And if we flip it on its back, you'll see more good exquisite detail. Got a nice lip around here, goes into the back, kind of has a little dent right here. And one thing that really makes it stand out, the detail stand out the best, is this awesome embossed General Electric logo on the light. They could not have bossed that any nicer and any more clearly. It is done very well in very high quality fashion. The lens, I will actually start with the lens right now. The lens is very thick. It's now all the M400s technically have the same lens except for the 1960's version, which actually has kind of almost like a square around the logo, but you can see right here the logo. It's beautiful, and the lens is made of high quality glass like all the other ones and is nice and thick. Moving on from the detail, let's go up here to the photocell now. This photocell right here came with our light. It's a little bit newer, it looks like. It's from 2018. As usual, it's just one of those DTL photocells. Oh, excuse me. So then they put these on new lights. I'm starting to believe now because I've already gotten quite a few of those. Take that off, we can look at the photo cap. So the photo cap, and I really love General Electric's photocell caps. It's very easy to turn it and position it however you want. All you do is undo these two screws a little bit, and then the whole cap spins in any direction you twist it. And then when you have it in the position you want, all you do is screw it back in and it tightens itself, and then you're good to install your photocell. So very awesome. I love that design. Very good. Now I'll take a look inside the light. So I'm gonna flip the light over. Ugh, it is very heavy. So back to this again. So like I was saying, the early 60s versions had this flap installed, and I believe these were installed to make the light a little bit easier to open. Now I've come across a couple of these, and I don't have them in my collection obviously, but I've seen the ones without it, and they are a little bit difficult to open. Like, even though I've cleaned this luminaire out perfectly and repainted it, it is still a little bit tight to open. Although actually that wasn't that bad. So closing it, you just snap it shut, but it is easier with that flap. It is a big luminaire, so before I actually try to take it off, I will show you this first. So the refractor, on the newer luminaires, the refractor doors kind of just come unhinged very easily, but this one has a lock mechanism on it. So for this one, it's very simple, and I made sure not to paint this because this is supposed to stand out for sure. There appears to be a little bit on that, and I can always go back and fix that. Oh, excuse me. So to unlock the refractor door, you press this button as you're taking it off, and I will demonstrate that to you guys as I undo it. So you gotta push this button, but you get the refractor door off, but if you don't, it won't come off. And I guess that's quite nice because the newer luminaires don't have those nice lock-on mechanisms, and what happens over time with those is they kind of get broken, and then the actual like refractors just can't stay on anymore without the hinges. So having a lock to the hinge is good because it makes it guaranteed to last longer and be more secure. And what they'll do is they'll tape around the lights, and it looks pretty stupid. So I appreciate General Electric, and it's unfortunate that they didn't continue this, but I do appreciate that on here. Anyway, let me set the camera down and I'll show you as I open up the luminaire what you have to do. So I have the camera sitting down, and I should turn this music down a little bit because it's a bit too loud. But as you can see, so if I try to open it, you can see that I really just can't take this off. So go right here, make sure the camera sees. Yep. You go right here, you press this flap, which just kind of nicely comes undone, and push it in. Perfect. And the door assembly comes off. It's very simple. It's a little easier when the luminaire is obviously on its arm, but you can totally see it was pretty simple to get off. Now, real quick, I'll go over this refractor door. So on our refractor door, we obviously, like you've seen already, have our unlock mechanism. I love how it says push to open too. All those little details make this light really cool. We got our refractor. To take the refractor off, what you got to do is just undo this little mechanism thing right here, and it pulls it out, and then you can reinstall a new one. Right here's the inside of the lock mechanism. You can see it's pretty basic. There's also a couple holes right here on the luminaire refractor door in case any moisture builds up and any water builds up in it, so it can release water. Now, the inside of this light hasn't been repainted. I just decided to leave it alone since you're not going to see it. But you can see over time, though, how really dirty they get inside. It's almost as dirty as the Westinghouse light from my last video, but it's not as bad. But I mean, it's pretty good now, so I'm just going to not worry about it. If I really want to, I can just come through and really give it a good clean, but it's okay. Now, let's move on over to the actual light. So first I'll talk about this right here. General Electric, when they made their M400, they really wanted to make it a good luminaire and a really practical luminaire as well. As you can see, you got your standard clip right here that just kind of clamps it onto the to the light. And then if you move over here, now the newer lights kind of have a step that you can set it at different levels, but this one you can kind of set it at almost any level you want with this right here. So to adjust the light to have it face up or down, you undo these bolts right here, and then you can move this in any position you want and tighten it. So if I want the luminaire to be, let's say, up more, I can have it down really far and tighten, then I tighten those bolts. But if I want to really face downward at the road, I can just push it all the way up. Then you got a luminaire that's facing down. Probably look kind of sad, actually. It'd be like a sad luminaire, like, oh. And then, you know, you can tighten the bolts for that position. So you can set it at any position you desire to. And then once those are tightened, you can tighten these bolts right here, so that has a much more secure connection with the actual bracket that it's on. So pretty awesome design. Moving on over here, so now this luminaire is a 240 volt hookup. Like my Westinghouse luminaire, it does not have a capacitor. Usually 240 volts only don't use a capacitor. So all we have here is a coil. A choke coil is what this is called. It's still a transformer, but these types are choke coils is what they call them. So I have a choke coil. So let's go over the circuit real quick. So now the older luminaires are pretty different in the way they work. So the terminals here, you got your power for your first line that goes into your transformer here, and then there's another wire that comes out up into the socket, And if you guys are noticing, so yeah, some of the wires in here are newer. Some of the original wires in here actually were really bad, so I replaced a couple of them so that it could work a little nicer. You get your second hot right here. This goes down into your photocell. The photocell wire comes up here, which is the red, and then they just use this terminal as a splice block. And then you got the white wire right here, which then goes into your luminaire. Of course, your photocell needs a neutral, so this right here is your terminal block for your neutral. So you got your two hots in neutral, and then this one is just being used as a splice block. Now, it's kind of crazy how well they've made this light. They got the socket like mounted right on the back of this plastic, and this is made of a hard plastic from the time. It's a really strange plastic. I don't know what type of plastic this is, but this is hard plastic, and they just got this light socket just screwed in. And one thing I noticed too, and you'll see it right there, is this has Phillips head screws. I think at one point in time the socket was replaced, because when I got it, it had that. I was thinking to myself, you know, this must be a replacement. It must have broke. So this is the original socket that came with, probably not the original socket that came with the light, but when I got the light, this is the socket that came with it. So I don't know when this socket had been changed, but the socket is a little bit newer in here. You got the little insulation right here, and this is pretty much in good shape too for its age. I think this is the original as well. Right here, I actually had this sitting in the socket. So this is the label. I don't know where it was pinned, probably somewhere right here. The adhesive unfortunately has come off, so it's kind of was just sitting in the light. But before we take a look at our refractor, we'll go ahead and look at this. It says General Electric Mercury Luminaire. We got the lamp watts on here, the lamp type. You got your voltage hookup, your diagram, and how it works, and how it's supposed to be hooked up. And yeah, some other information I'm not really so sure about. Now these things are really nice. This is made of like a tin foil, I guess, where I'll assume, and then they just got it printed on. One thing I actually learned, and I made a slight mistake, is you got to be careful cleaning these, because I actually rubbed some of the printing off, so that was my fault. I'm going to try to figure out how I can actually reattach it to the light. I'll probably use some type of adhesive. I've already tried glue and tape, and it hasn't worked because of the surface type. So this tag is really awesome. I love how it's aluminum, and how they have the numbers. You can see they're just embossed. It's just so cool. You just don't see this in newer lights nowadays. You got that. All you got is the sticky paper, and it kind of gets ripped up when the lights get dirty. So now the gasket on here. So a lot of these gaskets get to a point where they crumble and break, but in this case, this gasket's actually in really good shape still. It's it's not cracking and breaking now. It is very stiff, so definitely don't want to do too much playing around with it. But for the most part, the gasket is fine. Moving on over into our refractor here, it's a little hazy. Now, I think, I don't know if a bulb went bad in here or not, and that's probably why the socket had to be replaced, but you can see all this haze in here, which I can't really remove. Has obviously been created by something. But if this refractor was clean, as you can actually see right here, it's perfectly clean, it would be more shiny, and the refractor in general is very nice and shiny. It is a thick refractor, very nice refractor, despite the dirt on it. If you need to take the refractor out, it's pretty simple. You just kind of pull on this, and then it comes out. Very nice. And then you kind of, when you want to put it back in, you kind of just got to slip it in under. It's a little bit hard since it's older, but you slip it in under, there's kind of like a fold that it sits under. You get it. I do apologize. It's very, very hard to get it in to its fold. There we go. Got it. Okay. It is older, so things can be sticky sometimes, but I don't care. It's in tight, so that's all that matters. Anyway, now that I've showed you the insides of the light, let's hook up this light and watch it in action. The light bulb I'll be using for this light is just a Sylvania 400 watt mercury vapor bulb. Pretty simple bulb, nothing special. Anyway, let's go ahead and start. Alrighty, all the lights are off, and now I can go ahead and hook it up. So we got one set of plugs right here I can plug into. You might see some light actually come off the bulb. Not right now, not from your guys' view. So when you do hook it up to only 120, sometimes a bulb, if it's a good brand new bulb, it actually will kind of shine it'll light up a slight bit, but since there's not enough voltage, it won't turn on. Now we connect the other one to my other outlets. Okay. Then we take our photo cell here and we start the luminaire. Ooh, let's fix that. Sorry about that shake. Alrighty. This is the General Electric first generation M400 400 watts mercury vapor. In 3, 2, 1. It does hum quite a bit, but that's okay. Sometimes that humming sound can be very nostalgic. Anyway, let's watch this bad boy fire up. Okay, the light is now at full brightness. It is very bright. Let me turn this. 400 watts can be very bright, so turn this to the side. I'm gonna actually shut the light shelf off. In the last video, it kicked this photo cell off. A mistake I never thought would happen, but here we go. As you can see, it's very bright. Ooh, look at that! Look at that! I don't know if you guys can see it on the video, but you can see the sine wave. Let me see if I can catch the pattern. It's about right here somewhere. Yeah, right there. Really cool. It's kind of neat how these have a sine wave. If I were actually to record these on the lower frames, you would see much more of a sine wave. There it is right there. You can see it. Right there. Here it is at the bottom. Look at that sine wave. Really awesome. Really beautiful. Alright, I'm gonna set it. I'll set it outside for the outro. There we go. Really awesome light. Very bright. When I look at this light, I just wanna. Oh, it hurts my eyes. But it's so cool. It's better when it's out in the dark on an actual light, though. It's not really good to look at up close. Really love this light. I'm glad I was able to do a video on it. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. I will be doing more videos on my streetlights. I apologize for if this video seemed a little bit dull. Like I said, I'm very sick, and hopefully next video I am feeling a lot better. For any of you out there that's watching this video, always rest when you're sick. Don't do anything but just rest. Rest will cure your sickness. Anyway, thanks for watching, and always avoid being sick. Bye.